Time for another session from the CPR Performance Studio. This is 102.3 FM Denver Boulder, 88.3 in Fort Collins. Denver's Eye in the Arrow, back in our studio for the third time. Their first since 2013. The band is a trio that includes two members from Colorado rock group Paper Bird, but this band, it's heavier, it's rockier, it's even shreddier. Welcome back, guys.
Thanks.
What's up?
Hey.
Good to be here.
Good to see you today. Eye in the Arrow heads out on tour this month, and it culminates here in Denver on May 27th at Globe Hall for their album release show. Their new album, an EP called Ghost Tapes, will be out then, and we'll talk about it soon. But first, a song. What are you guys going to start off with today?
Oh, we're going to play the lead off on our EP and the first single that we put out from it. It's called Jungle Juice.
From the CPR Performance Studio, this is Open Air. I'm Alicia Sweeney, joined by the band I and the Arrow. They're a trio that includes two members from Paper Bird. We've got Mark Anderson on drums, Paul DeHaven doing guitar and vocals, along with Jason Haas-Hecker, who plays bass. And oh my gosh, we got a lot to catch up on. Just listening to that song right there, Jungle Juice. It's just a continuation of where you guys were before. I'm thinking back to like your previous release, more of a psychedelic spaghetti western, and now this one sounds a little bit surfier.
Oh, cool.
Sure.
Yeah, let's go surfing.
Yeah.
Can we still wear our cowboy hats?
Yes.
Great.
Because you're from Colorado.
Have
You've
to.
got to. Totally. So give me the details on the new record. From what I understand, you spent part of 2015 laying down tracks?
It was actually all in 2016. It's basically in the last 2 months. We had this show, 2 months ago, basically, and it was funny because we were like, man, we haven't done much in a while. And we were like, well, let's book a tour. And then, I can't remember what it was, but it was like, well, we shouldn't go on tour without a record. And it was like, all right, challenge accepted, let's do it. And we just spent a weekend up in Evergreen where Paul lives and recorded it all ourselves. And it was fast. We did it quick.
Yeah, that was awesome.
How did the name Ghost Tapes come about?
Well, we're putting it out on cassette with Heart and Box Records, which is a good friend, Trevor Ubaraga, puts that together. And so there's a tape element there. We got the cassette. But, well, how did that come about?
So there's these, I heard this radio show that was talking about the Vietnam War, and there was like this like form of warfare that the United States was using that was projecting these like really wild psychedelic recordings of what they were intended to sound like ghosts, and it was projected into the jungle saying like, it's this whole thing about like the lost souls. Like if you're not buried where you're from, then you're lost. And they were projecting this into the jungles, scaring the soldiers, being like, if you die in the jungle and aren't buried at home, then you're lost. And they call them the ghost tapes. So I was like, that's a crazy idea. And the song Ghost Tapes have these like kind of ghosty, vocal
talk over
things.
kind of
Yeah.
emulated that. It's kind of dark, but
It's pretty dark.
I love that.
Yeah.
So-
And they are so weird. Like the recordings are insane. Like they're such scary, trippy, wild recordings.
should put them on in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put them on as a hidden track if you can on
Yeah.
the new record. So I'm wondering, Ghost Tapes being the inspiration behind the name of the record, were those kind of sounds inspiring to you as you three got together over the last couple of months to record something new?
Well, yeah. I mean, we've been playing around with just doing whatever we wanted to, and our songwriting process has evolved a lot in the last little bit. Where it used to be like the last record that we put out, I wrote most of the songs, and then we arranged them together, and they went pretty far away from where I originally started with a guitar. But for this one, we would start with a drum beat, or we'd start with a bass line, and we would really write together. Sort of, I mean, I guess you could say that we're like searching for the ghost that comes out of the three of us together that forms this music that we create. It's kind of that like elusive thing that everybody, I think, who makes music is trying to find. But I don't know, just the thought of tape. We also found this tape that a friend made, and it's going to be the second side of the tape. And it was just this tape that I found, and I listened to it, and I was like, I think this is my friend Chaz, who's in a band called Lake Mary. And we put it on, and we're like, oh, this is actually sounds like what it sounds like when you listen to your own music for like 18 hours straight, and you can't hear anything anymore. That's what the second side of the tape sounds like. Is
really
this thing that we found?
droney.
Yeah.
And that's
It's
essentially
really
what was
droney and
happening to us.
intense.
Because we recorded this whole record, tracked it all in one weekend, but like it was essentially sleepless, like 40 hours in 2.5 days, essentially. So it was just like we were in it. Our minds were gone, essentially, but it was great. So
We became the Ghost Tapes.
yeah.
Well, I want to hear more. I want to hear another song. What's up next?
We're going to play a song called Make It Rain, which is the second song on. Yeah, we're going in order. This is great.
From the CPR Performance Studio, this is OpenAir, joined by Eye and the Arrow. Another song off of their EP Ghost Tapes, that's Make It Rain. 40 hours, 40 sleepless hours is about how long you guys took to record this.
Took us a little while,
Yeah.
but they were straight, so
Well, I'm curious.
it actually didn't take that long if you think about it.
Well, I'm curious from you, Paul and Mark. You recently recorded with your band, Paper Bird. You went to Nashville and recorded with John Oates of Hall & Oates. Did you learn anything from him that you brought back to this project?
Not at all. Just kidding. Yes, lots.
Studio tricks?
Yeah, it
Please
was
do
amazing.
tell.
Yeah, I mean, I think that a bit, especially, you'll talk about this, Paul, but like tone hunting and just like mic selection and, you know, how to mic things properly. I mean, Nashville is just a beast when it comes to recording music. So we definitely came back with lots learned.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we spent a lot. I mean, the studio we were at was called Addiction Sound, and they had, I mean, every guitar that I could have ever wanted. It was like living in a vintage guitar shop. So I played them all. I definitely played every single one that I could. They all made it on there. But that search, that time we spent there, definitely we learned a lot about songs and about what's important and what I don't know. Still, I think, is it Griff? It always talks about finding the ghost.
Oh yeah. Like
In the
Inner Oceans
recording.
has the whole thing of like finding your ghost, you know. And
Right.
That's definitely, you know, we've all talked about that in our community of just being like, what are we searching for here? And I mean, in Nashville, that was the wild thing of like going out and tracking and then coming in and hearing the playback and being like, something exists in this that didn't exist in each of us individually. And it's like, wow. And I think that in this process, that was kind of the goal for us. And, you know, this project always been like kind of it's super fun for us. It's always been just like a place that we can do a little more experimentation. But specifically with this record, I think like we recorded it, and then when the listening back and in the mixing process, it was just like, wow, I almost didn't recognize it, you know. It was like something came out of this process that wasn't with us before, you know. It's great.
Well, and that's kind of what we've been seeking this whole time. I mean, our last record, I felt like, was a recording of just those songs and exactly how we played them live. And this record was like, what can we do in the recording studio? And since Mark and Paul have acquired so much experience, it was just like this really wonderful opportunity to be like, this is ours. We've got all the time that we want, and let's do all of the weirdest things that we can do. And we're super proud of the work that we did. It's been really great.
I was wondering what drove you to getting back together and recording something, because I know you're all, friends first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we were just kind of lazy for a couple of years. Also, we were busy working on other things, and we realized that, you know, every time we got together, we'd practice, play a show, and then that was it. But every few of those times, those practices, we'd end up writing a song, and then we'd come back to that song, and that song would get better and better, and we'd be like, oh, actually, we're onto something here. So we got to a point where we just had enough to make another EP, and it seems like an EP is a very digestible amount of music for people these days. You can give them 5 or 6 songs, and they can listen through the whole thing and understand where you're coming from. And we understood where we were coming from through those 5 songs.
And a big thing too is like Paper Bird has been like, we're off for a bit, not touring, and we were like, well, we should go on tour as this band. And that was essentially the reason, was we were like, if we're going to go on tour, we should definitely have a record, you know. And that we were just like, all right, let's do it.
Well, you are going on tour with a Washington-based musician before your release show at Globe Hall on May 27th. Who is it that you're bringing along?
Joseph Hine. He's a good friend, amazing musician. He's a great guy. Played in the band Foxygen for a while, and Crumbs and a bunch of other bands. But he's got his own project called Joseph Hine, and we'll actually be his band on that tour too, which is really exciting. But great guy, super good music, great songwriter. Excited to have him.
Yeah, and when we come back, he's our band as well. So like, that was one of the things, we have so many extra guitar parts on this because we got crazy in the studio. So we're going to have him play with us and his buddy Zach. So it's going to be just that much more fun to be on stage.
Cool. Well, you have one more song for us today. This one's called Tiger.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Eye and the Arrow in the CPR Performance Studio.
in the forest shadows. And I wonder why I'm not out there now. What would I do if I was all alone with that tiger loose in the crimson blooms, filling soul and skin with dirt and shame? And when the cold will come, we can't place the blame.
This has been another Open Air session at 102.3 in Denver, 88.3 in Fort Collins. I'm Alicia Sweeney with our audio engineer, Dave Fender, Irvin Coffey running the cameras. To find more Open Air sessions, videos, and podcasts, visit our website, openaircpr.org.